It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Salt and Wild Beer Company. It's called We Challenge You to a Hop Off. It's a mountain IPA coming in at 7.2% ABV in a 440 milliliter can. Big fan of Wild Beer Company. I'm a big fan of Salt Beer. I nearly called them Salt Brewery then. Described as hazy and hoppy. This was £3.50 a can in my local Sainsbury's. Without further ado, let's get it out into a glass and see what we get. £3.50 a can. Here we go. Now, Salt, I truly believe that Salt have made a name for themselves as a brewery after launching in the supermarket. For me, I hadn't heard of Salt before I picked their beers up in the supermarket, and it was blinding. I think one of the first beers that I ever had from Salt from the supermarket was Huckaback. And it completely blew me away. It was that good. To be honest with you, it was a couple of years ago now. Maybe it was £3 a can. Maybe it's gone up a little bit since then. But I remember Huckaback as being a memorable beer. And it was definitely Salt's moment to shine, to say, hey, here we are. And they did that. And they carried on bringing beers out in the supermarkets that were of the highest quality. Really good. So this is from Sainsbury's, of course. I've just mentioned that. It's a one finger whitehead, hazy straw-ish coloured beer. It's very, very hazy. A mountain IPA. I'll talk about mountain IPA in a moment. I think it's a really interesting beer style. I think it's a beer style that's not brewed enough. It's a relatively new beer style. It never really took off. I think people should revisit it and relook at it. I'll explain all of that in a moment, but first of all, I want to get the aroma. It smells great. Really juicy, grapefruity. A bit of lemon in there, a bit of lime, pineapple, tin pineapple, like you've just ripped the tin off a pineapple and you've got that syrupy kind of juice there. The pineapple is sat in and you get a combination of sweetness from the syrup and the pineapple flavour. Slightly spicy and peppery as well. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Lots of pineapple, lots of grapefruit. It's terrific. It is terrific, but there's something slightly holding me back here. I must look at the back of the can before I open. Okay, I mean, okay, it's water, malted barley, oats and wheat, and of course hops and yeast. Okay, I mean, I was going to use the word lactose for a moment there. I thought it was slightly yogurty. I thought it was a little bit too like creamy and rich. But it's not lactose. It doesn't have that slippery, cheap yogurt You know the little yogurt pots you can buy? You can buy 6 yogurts, the little pots for maybe 50 pence in Lidl's. And they're really slippery and slick, and that's what I was almost getting here with this. A little bit slick, but I love oats, I love wheat. If it was lactose, I'd be like, what a shame. But because it's oats and wheat, then maybe in the next batch of this beer, maybe they can slightly adjust it. You can't do anything with lactose. You put lactose in, it makes it slick and creamy. That's all you can do with it. But with oats and wheat, you can maybe tail back a little bit on the oats. You can cut back a little bit on the wheat. It's just a bit too creamy. It's just a bit too cloyny and creamy. It's a fantastic beer, it really is. It's really juicy, really lemony and passion fruit and pineapple, tinned pineapple. There's some grapefruit in there. There's orange peel and fleshy blood orange. A little bit of bitterness on the back end. It's definitely a supermarket beer. Now, I've been drinking recently. I've been to Norway recently, and I've been drinking tremendous IPAs from Lervig and Nørgneo and some terrific beers from Iceland. There was a brewery from Iceland at this beer festival, and their beers were out of this world. There's something about British supermarket IPA. Don't get me wrong, I like it. I don't want to make you or put any thoughts into your mind that I don't like the beer. I do. I like the beer. It's very good. But it's very supermarkety. Does that make sense? I reckon, and I might do this in the future, I might buy from every single supermarket all of the cans or most of the cans of the IPA and open them all, pour them all, show them all and taste them all. I reckon the majority of these beers would taste the same, they would feel the same, they'd have that same kind of slightly slicky mouthfeel. It's almost as though now brewers talk. I know brewers talk because I've been to beer festivals. We all have a laugh, we all have a drink, and I'm just wondering if there's a well-known trade secret in the industry to brew a relatively cheap IPA for the supermarket and make a pretty decent profit out of it and sell it for £3.50 a can. I'm wondering if it's a bit of an open secret. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I like the beer. It's tasty, it's lovely, it's juicy. But there's something about it that screams supermarket beer. I think I've mentioned this before. So your flavour wheel on beer, sometimes there's a flavour wheel and the flavours will be like pineapple over there and tangerine over there, grapefruit over there. This is more of all of the flavours are much more closely knit together. So when you taste the beer, you go grapefruit, pineapple, orange peel. You're rolling the flavours off really quickly. Whereas maybe a bottle shop bought IPA, you have a little bit more of a layer of flavours. So there might be a few seconds where you're tasting grapefruit. A few seconds later you're tasting pineapple. A few seconds later, you're tasting orange peel, and so on and so on. Whereas this is more tightly crammed together. This is more grapefruit, pineapple, orange peel, fleshy blood orange, passion fruit, mango. Boom, all finished, done. Let me know in the comments box. I'm going to rate this beer. I think for £3.50 a can, 7.2% ABV. It's a terrific beer. It really is a terrific beer. Now, Mountain IPA. I want to talk to you about Mountain IPA very quickly. So, on the top of a mountain, of course, you can see East Coast. You can see West Coast. So what a Mountain IPA is say you're that person on the top of the mountain, you're looking over to the West Coast, they're all your juicy beers with a little bit of bitterness, and then you turn around, you look at the East Coast on top of the mountain, and you get more of that kind of New England IPA, rounded, creamy smoothiness. In a nutshell, I'm going to stop the review now because I've been talking way too long. In a nutshell, that's a Mountain IPA. Top of the mountain, you look into the west, then you look into the east. Two different styles of beer, but they're clashing in a Mountain IPA. That's the kind of, I think it's a very clever thing to do. That's the thought behind Mountain IPA. I hope more brewers do it. It's a terrific style when you get it right. I like this. As much as I've been talking about supermarket beer, I think for £3.50 a can, it's still worth an 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. But if you have been buying supermarket beers of late and you might be becoming slightly bored of the same old flavours and the same old mouthfeels, then maybe this is not for you. Maybe this is not for you. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. But that's Salt and Wild Beer Companies. We challenge you to a hop-off Mountain IPA, 7.2% ABV. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.